Hey everybody, I'm Justin Czar with bowhunting.com. Today we're going to be answering one of the most common questions we get here around the office these days, and that is, what type of broadhead should I be shooting out of my crossbow? And there's no one-size-fits-all answer to that question. Whether you're shooting a crossbow, a compound, or traditional archery, everybody's going to prefer something different. But there are a couple things to note specifically with crossbows that are different from compounds and other types of bows. So we're going to go over kind of 4 different types of broadheads and the pros and cons of each one, and then you can decide what you want to be shooting, as you head into the woods this fall. So let's start with the most common broadhead out there, the one that's been around for the longest time, the tried and true fixed blade broadhead, right? So fixed blade broadheads are a great option for any bow, crossbows included. The caveat to that is, if you're shooting a fixed blade broadhead out of a high-speed crossbow, which many of today's crossbows are well over 400 feet per second now, you're gonna wanna shoot something with a lower profile. The reason for that is the higher profile, the traditional fixed blade broadhead, if we look back years ago to things like the Thunderhead and the original Muzzy, those bigger, higher profile broadheads don't tend to fly as well out of these extremely high-speed bows. So you're going to want to go something with a little bit shorter profile. It's going to reduce planing and be more accurate, right? And don't worry about these things not being as big, because in the end, although their blades may not be as long, in a lot of cases they are every bit as wide, and they're going to create the same size hole as those bigger kind of old school fixed blade heads. So this is a NAP Thunderhead Nitro. As you can see, it's a very small fixed blade head. There's a lot of heads like this on the market. Slick Trick comes to mind. A lot of other good brands that are out there that produce these short profile fixed blade heads that are perfect for today's high-speed crossbows, right? So if you're gonna shoot a fixed blade, if you're a guy that's like, I don't wanna deal with the mechanical, I don't wanna deal with any moving parts or anything like that, I want a fixed blade, just make sure you're picking one of these smaller heads, because you are going to be more accurate with them. So fixed blade, that's the easiest one to cover, no moving parts, been around forever, you know it's gonna work, right? So now we move into the mechanical broadheads. And in my opinion, these are the best types of broadheads for a crossbow. The reason being, these crossbows produce a tremendous amount of kinetic energy, which means you have the opportunity to use a very big broadhead and cut a very big hole in your animal, which is gonna result in better blood trails, hopefully quicker recoveries, right? The question is, what type of mechanical broadhead do you wanna shoot? There's a couple different styles of them out there. Some are more suited to crossbows than others, right? So if we look at, this is an NAP Killzone Max, right? This particular broadhead is what we consider a front opening broadhead, or a correct opening mechanical. So the blades are actually swept back on impact, it pops open, creates a massive entry hole, right? Similar to a Rage, and there's a couple other style broadheads like this out on the market. Now, the issue with these particular broadheads, they do make some of them that are rated for crossbows, but most of them are only rated up to 350 feet per second. The reason being, the mechanisms that hold these blades closed when the arrow is being shot can only withstand so much force before these blades pop open when you shoot. And if you pop open a blade when you're shooting, especially at that speed, your arrow's gonna veer off course. So if you've got a crossbow that's shooting under 350 feet per second, which there's plenty of great crossbows out there that do that, these types of broadheads work awesome, right? Especially the ones that are built for crossbows. So if you're shopping for a crossbow broadhead, just keep in mind that there is a difference between a standard mechanical and a crossbow mechanical, and it's usually comes down to things like blade thickness, but also the tension on these blades that's going to hold them closed. If you're shooting a front opening mechanical, or even an over-the-top mechanical like a Spitfire, you really want to be careful with anything over 350 feet per second, right? I really wouldn't recommend this type of broadhead for the ultra fast crossbow. Which brings us into some of these hybrid type broadheads. Again, these are purpose-built in a lot of cases for crossbows, and so they've got a little bit of a tighter spring on the blades that open up. And when I say a hybrid, this is basically a combination of a fixed blade. You can see we've got a 2-blade fixed blade on the front, and then we've got these small bleeders that come out of the side. Now the nice thing about this is, again, it's built for crossbows, so you can actually feel this is a NAP DK4 is what this is, and you could feel when you push that blade in there, it's got a tactile snap. This is built to be shot out of crossbows. But again, over 400 feet per second, you're gonna wanna be careful with these. Under 400, you're probably gonna be pretty good with these DK4s. Personally, my son shot his first deer ever last year with a DK4. It performed flawlessly out of the crossbow last year. This is one of my favorite broadheads, not just for crossbows, but for compounds as well. This is a great head. There's a lot of good mechanical kind of hybrid broadheads on the market right now, so that's a good one. And then the final broadhead we're gonna look at is a broadhead that has been tested to perform extremely well, even out of today's highest speed crossbows. This is the Evo X center punch broadhead. And as you can see, it's a forward or correct opening mechanical broadhead. So it's gonna be similar to this kill zone, right? When it enters the animal, the blades are gonna be in the open position. So it's gonna create a big entry hole. The difference with this particular broadhead is that it doesn't use any collars, snaps, O-rings, anything like that to keep these blades closed in flight. It's actually using the inertia of the arrow to keep the blades closed. So the faster this arrow is going, the tighter these blades are going to be held into this ferrule as it's being shot, and then these 2 points on the front catch the animal's hide on entry and open it up. But on deployment, when you shoot this arrow, just the force of the arrow moving forward is pushing these blades and holding them closed, right? Which is a great thing for these really, really high-speed crossbows. So this is the Havoc RS 440 from 10 Point. This thing shoots 440 feet per second. I'm gonna wanna shoot something like this if I'm gonna shoot a mechanical broadhead out of this bow. So again, this is the center punch from Evo X, which is made by 10 Point. And again, this broadhead has been tested at distances up to like 100 yards out of the fastest crossbows that they make, and it's proven to be extremely accurate, and given all their slow motion video testing, has been proven to actually fully deploy and open up on entry in the animal. So for my money, if you're shooting one of these extremely fast crossbows, you wanna go with something like this, or probably a fixed blade head, one of these two. You know, these heads here are great. Again, this one up to maybe 350, this one up to 380, 400, something like that. I would go ahead and feel comfortable shooting either one of these, but these ultra high speed crossbows, really you gotta be shooting something that's designed to withstand that amount of kinetic energy. So I'm gonna go with one of these two broadheads. Hopefully that clears things up for some of you guys that had questions about what to shoot this fall. As always, if you have comments or concerns or questions, feel free to leave them below. We will do our best to address them. And as always, thanks for watching, everybody.